Candace Owens, which we've talked about on this platform a few times, and we've also written a few articles, and Briahna Joy Gray came together on Candace's podcast to talk about really the only thing that they probably have in common, the Jews and Israel.
Can I be more specific?
Yes.
Jew hatred.
The topic that they came together on was whether or not Israeli women were actually raped on October 7th. Candace was already disputing a lot of this stuff, and we talked about this. Briahna was disputing this a few months ago, talking about the faults in the whole the hashtag Believe All Women movement that happened, which I do agree. I always agree with that. You can't paint a whole group of people as anything. People are people, right? You can't say every woman who says they were raped is telling the truth, and you can't say that every woman who said who's raped is lying. You have to, which is why we have investigations, which is why we have a court of law. Someone makes an accusation and it has to be investigated. Now you have Briahna on the Hill, formerly, with an Israeli woman, and they have an interview. They go back and forth. At the end of the interview, the Israeli woman tells her, I think that you specifically, Briahna, should go look at the recordings and believe the women when they say that. And then Briahna wouldn't even let her finish her sentence. She rolled her eye and they cut her off. So then everyone's in an uproar about that. Briahna gets fired from the Hill, and then she complains that she's getting fired because she's outspoken about Israel, and the Hill wants to silence her. Same reason why Candace said she got fired from Daily Wire, which it's looking more and more like her contract, which is up. She was already wanting to leave, but that's a whole different story. She also rolls her eyes when she hears about the Israeli women talking about how they were raped by Hamas. Now, the problem with all this is that Hamas filmed themselves raping the Israeli women. And that's the thing that the Hill has published tons of articles criticizing Israel unfairly most of the time. But Briahna still wants to do the whole they hate me because I'm outspoken about Israel thing. So then Candace tweets at Briahna and says, I would love to invite you onto my podcast. And then they come together, and Candace validates Briahna by telling her that boils our blood the most here at Ipsy is that if this is not hearsay, this is not something that's in dispute. Hamas filmed themselves, particularly with one woman. They gang raped her, they cut her breasts off, they passed her around. The last person to rape her shot her in the head, and then he finished. Okay, this is filmed. They filmed this. So the fact that you're coming together to say, did this actually happen, which we weren't surprised, given where Candace has been lately, and with her whole branding Crisis King and selling merchandise. Now Briahna has that same complaint. They're coming together. That's the horseshoe theory. Briahna is far left, as left as you can possibly get. Candace is pretty far right now, but here's where they come together. They come together on Jew hatred.
I chuckle because it is so stupid, dishonest. I have to pause because I need to choose my words carefully. The posturing of the righteous posturing, and particularly underneath the banner Crisis King, conversation for another day, but as a Christian particularly, that really grates me up. But the righteous posturing and the advocating for freedom of press and allow Americans to be able to think how they want to think and to be able to speak how they want to think, and even questioning, oh my gosh, is America now at the behest of Israel, is so absurd that the only thing that makes plausible sense for why Candace continues to have this conversation and continues to find really insignificant with respect to topics or individuals to have this conversation with is because she's driven by Jew hatred, like period. Joshua, I did not have the stomach that you had today to watch that interview by her, but I will say that it is a shame. There's even moments, I did watch her interview with Piers Morgan last week also, and I was just like, oh my gosh, the level of dishonesty, stupidity, pandering just to make a point that really doesn't even need to be made, but you want to make it because you want to find some sort of false accusation against the Jews, is so deceptive, especially because she does it underneath the title of championing a cause that really has been either attacked or has been misused. So yes, I agree with you in terms of the whole hashtag Believe All Women that was taken too far. It didn't make any sense, blah, blah. And so for those people that were calling out the fact that hashtag Believe All Women didn't make any sense are now being given fodder to feel vindicated that you see, here's another example as to why we shouldn't believe this. My advice, if I may, particularly to women who are on the bandwagon because they think that there needs to be vindication for those that have been attacked, particularly Christians, and you're a conservative. And if I may add, only because she continues to hide behind this label as a mother. Really choose the information that you listen to, not only from Candace, but from anybody and everybody. There's a story, or at least a recollection of what happened to me, if I can quickly share it, when I came to the States, and I want to use it as an analogy. So yes, I had visited the United States many times before, but when I was living in the States and I realized that this was going to be my home for a season, I remember going to the grocery store, Joshua, and I walked into the aisle for bread. That's all I wanted, bread. And I was confronted by a plethora of choices. I was just like, I just want bread. Don't give me 5,000 choices of bread. Just give me bread, and give me good bread. But then when I started, what I started to realize was that you have all of these choices. You then have to make an educated choice about the type of bread that you want to choose. And you can't just rely on the label. So just because it says it's good and it's healthy and it's got natural ingredients doesn't necessarily mean that. You also have to go and turn around and look at what the ingredients are. The same thing for the likes of Candace Owens, the same thing for the likes of many of these influencers and these individuals who call themselves informed about what's going on in Israel and all of that. Choose very wisely, choose very carefully who you are listening to. Just because it sounds right, just because it's under the banner Christ is King, take it, read the ingredients. Like, I would love to know how much Candace actually is submitted to the Lordship of Jesus Christ, because that's what declaring Christ as King is. I mean, how do you say that he is King and be in total opposition to what he says about his very own people? You really submitted to his Lordship, really. I mean, again, conversation for another day. So choose, read the ingredients, and then process it through wise resources or wise individuals who themselves have put resources out there that you can then corroborate, because out of the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses, a thing shall be established.